From the clash
The CoTF Shattering dates have been announced. I'm super excited to talk about this.
Shattering that I originally went to for the first set existence back in March was one of the best experiences of my life.
If you have a loved one that loves to play trading card games or collects trading cards, you can help boost their enjoyment of the hobby and make this Christmas extra special for them with these few items that are completely affordable, fit inside of stocking, and I promise you they're going to love it.
Hey there, guys. You're watching the Be a Hero Gaming Channel. We talk about games and how you can be a hero in your real lives. And today, I'm going to bring to you reason number 9 why Wonders of the First is the greatest collectible card game ever.
Hey everybody, quick note to our loyal subscribers. This is a bow battle free zone over the next hour. This is going to be all about Wonders of the First. But I just want to say welcome back everyone to Creators of the First. I'm your host, Slappy White, and we've got an absolutely stacked show tonight. Joining us is going to be Grace from Wonders Workshop, Ben from Be a Hero Gaming, and then American Texan. Unfortunately, couldn't make it with us, work obligations. Richie from Quarantine Capricorn will be joining us and filling those oversized, large, gigantic Texas-style shoes of American Texan. The one, the only, Sneaky Joe is joining us. And tonight we're going to dive into the big topic shaping the world of Wonders, the latest chatter around the Shattering dates, the DBS announcement from Ramal, and CarolinaGirl. I said that we had somebody big enough to fill the shoes of people. Like, you got to admit. Hold on. Let me pull another one out of my hat.
Definitely going to fill some shoes very well.
Hey, Sneaky Joe.
Hey, how's it going? Well, you flattered me. I don't think I fill any of those shoes, but thank you for having me on your show.
Oh my God. I was so nervous about asking you because on the last show we talked about the fact that are you a superstitious person?
I mean, I'm a religious person, so I believe that things happen for a reason. So that might quantify as superstition in some regard.
Well, I can see where you're going on that angle, but like, for instance, when you're playing baseball or when your favorite team's up to bat, like if you were sitting on that spot on the couch, do you believe you need to sit on that spot on the couch again?
I have been trapped into thinking like that at some times, especially when I want my favorite football team to win. And every time I put them on, they lose. So I decide I don't want to watch them and maybe catch the highlights, and that might go better, but I realize that's all folly in my thinking.
Yeah. All right. Well, good. I'm glad your logic brain is winning out, because I committed the greatest faux pas, Grace, in Vegas, is that I took a picture with Sneaky Joe before I left. Of course, we met at the Shattering last year, and I said, "Hey, I just want to get a picture next to the eventual champ." And I'm like, "Can I get?" And Sneaky Joe goes, "No. There's a lot of great talent." Like, no, and it just, oh, yes, I know, Grace. Clearly, you don't think like Sneaky Joe, because I feel like I jinxed him. And when I reached out the first time today, I was thinking, how will he react to it? So thank you for your kindness and not blaming me for the hex that I put on you. But obviously, having you, Sneaky Joe, here, and by the way, shout out to Jay, to Grant, to all the people who are joining us live. We appreciate you watching Creators of the First Live, so you can ask your questions and your thoughts. We're going to get to the Shattering. We're going to get to the DBS, what we're thinking is going to happen. But first, obviously, we've got Sneaky Joe here, Grace. So what do we want to ask him about Vegas?
Sneaky Joe, what was your favorite part of Vegas? That's always my go-to first question while my brain thinks of more stuff.
Vegas was awesome. It was such a good event. My favorite part was meeting up with, I think, the community members, especially my team members. We were part of Team Mythic Knights that entered the Dragon Cup. We're a bunch of players, not really any major collectors behind us. We wanted to kind of go the little man route with a few of us and seeing what we could pull together and what we could build. And then just we worked weeks and hours and spent late nights building, collecting, trying to make sure we have all the right cards, seeking out everyone in the community, and then playing to get ready for that tournament. And these are a lot of people I had never met, like Jay Fire, hadn't met him. I had met Jester and Jordan and Yo-Yo at different events. Broton, I hadn't met him either. And
wait, and sorry, Sneaky Joe. These are
Yeah.
people who are on your team, or these people you're just mentioning you met?
These are people on my team that I
Okay.
hadn't met. Yep. So so it was amazing, one, to just meet them, get together. They're great people online, and put faces to their names, and then actually compete live an event in real life. And then on top of that, meeting all these other people that we interact with on a regular basis in the Discord and everything. And so I think overall, I mean, it was just a win being a part of that community, being a part of a very special event. I think the Wonders outdid themselves. I mean, to have a world tournament event like that in the first year of its launch, I have to say kudos to the Wonders team. It was awesome.
Wow.
Did your team do any like team building when you got there or anything? Any like go out to dinner or anything?
I think our team building consisted of me showing up at the hotel in the lobby and bringing packets of cards, and then everyone sitting down, making sure we actually had what we needed. Actually, most of us had played an event that day. We played in the sealed event on Friday. So we hadn't had time to even put our decks together that were going to be going on the very next morning. So our team building consisted of, hey, do you have what I need? Did you bring that card that I needed? Where did that card come from? Oh no, did that package get sent to my house? I live in the area. So my house was kind of base point where all the packages and things were being sent, and making sure that I had everything and everyone had what they needed. It was a big deal. It was kind of a high stress, high anxiety night. I think a lot of us didn't get as much sleep as we had hoped, but we eventually got our decks together. And then on top of that, I think it was Capricorn's team first formed. We heard that they had a mix-up with getting the cards that they needed for their team. Or they also had a situation with an Airbnb that didn't go well, and they were scrambling. I heard they had completely missed the sealed event that most of their guys had been in. And so we went out of our way, you know, we knew they're competitors, but we went out of our way to make sure we could help them any way that we could. And a lot of people from the community also did that. So it was cool to see that Wonders is building a community where you're not shunning your competition. You're not saying, aha, stick it to them because they don't have what they need. No, the community got together and made sure that people could compete the way that they intended to compete, no matter what kind of the situation that occurred to them. And so that was fun to be a part of, and cool to watch that the community came together.
Yeah, I know I've heard talk a lot lately about how a lot of people want to beat everybody that they're playing against at their best, not because they were missing a card or because they were having an off day. And I think that's a wonderful thing about our community.
Yeah, and it speaks to a lot because there's a lot of money at stake. I mean, you were talking $30,000 for first place, 15, and all the way down the line. And I heard from a lot of people that, you know, money's great, money's awesome, but it was more important to help kind of keep the integrity of the game, and keep a good positive culture. And that's kind of what we're hoping to push. That Wonders is different, sets itself apart not only in gameplay, but also by the community and the sportsmanship that we can exhibit as players in this game.
Yeah, Cap, you got anything to add to that?
I mean, one of the things that surprised me the most about just Vegas in general was how the community didn't change. I was so worried that like we'd roll in and it would feel the way it used to at first, and then as soon as the stakes went up, it would just be like, you know, people out for blood, and it would feel different and it would be bad vibes, and it wasn't that at all. Like the community still felt like the community. Like people were loaning each other cards. I mean, I loaned Honest AF one of the cards he needed, a formless foil. I think it was what's the name of that card that can steal another card, but it's not the Wind Reaver. It's the more expensive
Sky Wraith.
The Sky Wraith. He needed a formless foil Sky Wraith. He actually ended up using it against me in our finals match. He got it back with a Noctarum to threaten to take my Blazafell and use it against me, which was insane. But like, did I regret that? Maybe a tiny bit, but at the end of the day, not really. I was more excited about the fact that the community still felt like the community. You know, we were all in high stakes matches, and yet at the end of the day, all of us put that aside and jumped when I think it was Caden needed a deck when his deck was stolen, and we all jumped to his rescue. And like, you know, we had matches we could have been late for, you know, but that wasn't the priority. It was like, let's make sure this kid can play. And I'm really, really proud of the community and the fact that, I mean, there were a couple little bits of bad feels here and there, but nothing substantial. For the most part, even with that much money on the line, like, it still felt like the core Wonders community where everyone had each other's backs and it was all in good fun. And I don't know any other game that feels like that when you have that kind of money on the line. Magic is very cold and stoic in circumstances like that. And I'm really, really proud that Wonders wasn't.
I'm going to challenge you here. And I heard everybody talk about it last week. I'm just going to challenge the existing Wonders community. And I've explained this I said it was a bow battle free zone for the next hour. So I am going to cheat a little bit. But it's funny because when I talk to some of the bow battle people, the people who play that game, I said, it's interesting, the Wonders people, which is they look at the Magic people and they're like, they are like Jordan. They are rules 100% of the time. And it's just, this is the round, the peg fits in the round circle and the square fits in the, you know, the square opening. And that's the way it goes. But what's interesting is from a boba perspective, the Wonders people are way more intense on rules than the boba people. And you can say like, well, yeah, they were playing for more. Is that, I mean, I played at the $100,000 event at National in Chicago. I can tell you the people playing for 100,000 were on a different level than the people who play for 10,000 at the SCG cons for Wonders. So the only thing I'm going to say to you guys is like, I think it's great. Don't sit there and say we're doing better than the Magic tables over there that are taking it too far and taking it too serious over this cardboard. But I just say, check yourself, because I actually had a couple interactions that were not pleasant. It was insane. And,
Really?
you know, I had an 0-3 record. I was not going anywhere, you know, and just like when I was playing my matches. So I would just say, I think the Wonders community can do even better than they already have. That's the only thing I'm not looking to pick a fight. Like, I do see the difference between Magic and Wonders. I just think it can be better.
I mean, you're not wrong, Slappy. I mean, Capricorn mentioned Caden got his deck stolen, right? So that happened somewhere near the Wonders table, right? So there's still things going on that are problems, and you know, I've had a few bad interactions with some players. So have my sons, but overall, it happens, right? It's going to happen in these games. But I'll tell you what, overall, it's been more good than bad. And so that's
100%.
That's what we're speaking to.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And thank you for saying that, Sneaky Joe. Cause I should say that as I state, I'm the only person in the community who loves both children equally. I love Wonders and bow battle equally. So I love Wonders. I love the community. I love everything about it. I'm just saying, as it grows, I was like, let's always try to be better, which I think everybody in this panel would agree with that. By the way, how old, can you tell everybody in the audience how old your sons are? Because I want to hear, they haven't had positive experiences. How old are they again?
So Vortex is 16 years old, and Sharkborn, who did make the top 8 in the Stoneseeker Cup, he's 14 years old. He turned 14 in November. So.
And they have not had, was it at Vegas that they didn't have a positive experience the entire time?
No, actually, the worst experience that I saw was in Orlando between Vortex, and it was during a sealed day, 10,000K tournament. It was the very first 10,000K tournament of the whole SCG con. And it was with a Magic player. I was sitting right next to him. And my boys are good. They're good players. We play a lot. And it felt like the guy sitting across from my son, who was an older man, was not happy that he was getting beat by a 16-year-old. That's really was my impression. And he was doing everything he could to try to twist the game to let him win. And he was even making up things, lying about what had happened in the game. And I felt like he was trying to intimidate my son. So that was a bad experience for Vortex. I did talk, fortunately I was right next to it. He was playing right next to me in the match. So as soon as I saw that going on, I called the judge over, and then I had to I had to step away, take my hands off because, I'm biased, obviously.
Right.
And as a father, when I see someone what I felt was mistreating my son, that stirs some anger inside my heart. I'm just going to tell you. And then I have to worry about controlling myself too in an event like that.
And by the way, for folks who don't know, Sneaky Joe once did an hour interview with us while he held the phone like this, and his arm never quivered once.
The whole time.
Yeah, so whoever was next to Sneaky Joe should have been fearing for their life if they were enraging him. But anyway,
those are funny rumors, but but yeah, you know, I try to keep a good attitude, but there are times when you see some bad behavior, and I look at this game, Wonders. This is a new game. This is a new chance. It's a new opportunity to do things different. That's the motto of the Wonders way. And we have a real chance to kind of root out some of that bad behavior. It's going to happen, but if we don't do anything about it, don't say anything about it, don't stand up as a community, it will continue to permeate and become a problem for us. So as it shows up, we have to do something about it. We have to say that's not acceptable to behave like that. And I had a few incidents where I've had to do that. Vegas, I had one small incident there, and we had an incident in Orlando with my son, and then I saw there had another incident in Houston. And I'll just be honest, these were not people that were from the Wonders community with the Kickstarters or anything else. These were people that were new to the game. Generally, they came over straight from Magic and the high competitive scene that we've had these negative interactions with. I'm not saying that's the only place where they'll be, but that's been my experience. It's been my Moy's experience so we have to do our part to police our culture, make sure it's the one that we want.
So what you're saying is your sister's fiance is getting a little rowdy sometimes, and you have to. Sorry, that's the American Texan joke. I will say I agree with you. Is that for folks who know, is that Wonders the First came from block packs. That was kind of like the project that started it. And it's funny because I'm the first person to say, like, hey, I can't throw stones because I do live in a glass house. I try to be my best person. What I loved about the block packs community is it's a chance to kind of be your best person. And I remember Yo-Yo. I've had this conversation with Yo-Yo over a dozen times where Yo-Yo and I will talk about behavior, not just Wonders, but anyone in our associated communities. And Yo-Yo will say, well, that's just how people are. And I go, no. I was like, that's not how people are in here. Like this. So I love hearing that, Sneaky Joe, because it's we can hold each other to a higher standard. And we do. I think that's why we do have the best community. Grace?
And I'm going to make this point, and I know that it's not for everybody out there who's watching, but I want to make it because I think it's important. I started playing card games when I was really little. And there is this moment sometimes when you're playing and you feel like the other person has more knowledge, authority, experience, whatever, when you're young or you're just starting to play or any of the above. And you're like, well, they're saying this and they seem to have more power, more whatever. And you have to have this moment of like, this is an okay time to call somebody over and be like, is this kosher? Like, I think I've told this story on here before. I taught my mom to play Magic a year or two ago. I don't remember exactly when, but we went to a Magic pre-release and somebody was telling her that the rules didn't work the way the rules worked. And she just felt she didn't feel confident enough in herself to call a judge and be like, I don't think this is how this works. And what I'm being told here is wrong. And nobody should ever feel guilty or unable to call a judge over. And unless you're doing something wrong, you shouldn't be offended if somebody calls a judge if y'all aren't meshing perfectly on what the rules are. Like, I don't want anybody to ever think that, like, just because they don't have enough experience or they're younger or they're a woman or any of the above that they don't have the experience to call a judge, or that you need experience to do that. So there's my little stand for the day.
And Capricorn, is that what I found at Baltimore and in Las Vegas? The judges are great. They were great there. When you try to what Carolina, I always try to think about what to call you. You're 3. What Grace is you know what? Oh my God! Can you be any more 1950s? Is that like okay? Where's the beef? But what Grace is talking about with the judges they were so patient and working with you and never seemed annoyed. Like if I was one of those judges, I don't know how they don't get annoyed. Just constantly, like it's essentially being a parent of 1,500 small children who are constantly pulling on your shoulder, asking you for something. But Cap, is that generally, I mean, does SCG Con generally have a good set of judges like we saw in Vegas where they handle it really well?
Yeah, I mean, the people that tend to gravitate towards those positions and become judges anyway are the kinds of people who are patient with that sort of thing. They like to teach players. They like to be sure about exactly how everything works. They like to be even before they become judges. Typically, in my experience in Magic, it's like those are people within the community that like to be a pillar, that like to have others come to them for clarification and to know all of the ins and outs. And those types of people naturally gravitate towards becoming judges. So you're going to have judges typically when you're at that level at SCG Con, you're going to have, the best of the people that tend to gravitate towards that sort of thing. So typically, yes, the judges are really good. One thing that I have noticed is that the judges and their rulings they have gotten better at every single event. So, Orlando, things were a little bit rough. I felt like me and Sneaky Joe were kind of like sort of judges weirdly at that event. A lot of people were coming to us for clarifications on things and only going to actual judges if they absolutely had to, which I thought was kind of interesting. But what was cool is as each SCG Con went along, the judges got way more familiar, way more confident with everything. And the players actually got way more confident actually just interacting with the judges and not feeling like they needed to go to someone like Sneaky Joe. And I think we saw that kind of hit ahead in Vegas, where I think the entirety of the event, no one ever felt like they needed to go over a judge's head or anything like that. And that's just a testament to the people at SCG Con making it a priority to get on that level and to have the community kind of look at them in that light and respect them in that way. So I'm really happy with how things have been turning out with SCG Con with the judges. Absolutely.
Well, and I know we have a couple of things we have to talk about, Cap, but for you and Sneaky Joe, I think the next SCG Con, it's Portland, right? Portland, Oregon. That's the next one.
Atlanta and then Portland.
Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Atlanta, then Portland. And we have to say Portland, Oregon. Come on, Cap. You and I are from the Northeast.
I know.
It's like we have the chip on. Believe it or not, people, there's two Portlands, and the Portland on the East Coast is kind of a big deal to us.
I briefly got really excited the first time I saw Portland, and then I realized it was on the other side of the country.
Yeah, beautiful city in Maine. But so for Atlanta and Portland, will you two both be there?
I'll be there.
I mean, Atlanta and Portland.
Yeah, I'm planning to be at Portland. I don't think I can make Atlanta. I have to kind of space it out and plan which ones I can and can't. If I could be at them all, I would, but I juggle family life over here too. So yeah, I need to meet you in the finals again, Cap, because we didn't get our finals match in Vegas.
It's true. It's true. And that was kind of the other thing I wanted to bring up about Vegas. And I think part of why the community seemed to be a lot more chill with that much money on the line than I think other games are, is because I feel like a lot of us are so confident in the longevity of this game and the fact that it's going to be around for years and years to come. And it's only going to get better. And there are only going to be even more frequent big events and even more money on the line. Like, this is just the beginning. So I think a lot of us going into it are like, yeah, would it be cool to win the big prize and go home with a big payday? Absolutely. But someone like Sneaky Joe, he knows there's going to be 17 other paydays down the line, and he's going to be cracking into all of them in a significant way. So like, we're all just excited about the future. And I think that makes it a little bit easier to kind of take things in stride when they happen in the moment. That being said, I am excited about Portland and Atlanta. One of the things me and the rest of the first forum talked about is we want to try to make sure that 2 out of the 4 of us are at every event. So we're having team meetings where we're being like, okay, Atlanta, which of us are going? Portland, which of us are going? And we're making sure the team is represented by at least 2 players at each event. Of course, I'm going to go to all of them because I'm a nut and I'm crazy. And that's what everyone tells me too on the team. But, I can't help it. I'm in love with this game. I believe in it with all of my heart, and I'm going to shout it from the tops of mountains until people listen.
Sneaky Joe, just so let you know, with Grace is when she does this, that means she has something to say. So just so you know her cue. Go ahead, Grace.
Yeah, I'm too much of a student not to have some sort of, and I get too ADHD and it makes me shut up till somebody else is done talking. So this may be too early of a segue, but I have the perfect segue question to what this video is supposed to be about. Cap, the date for the Shattering has been announced, and there's a conflict.
I'm very sad. I'm
Where are
very
you
sad.
gonna be?
I'm not gonna lie. I'm considering going to Friday and Saturday at the Shattering, and then skipping out, driving overnight to Richmond, and playing in the 10K sealed.
That's a long
There's no
drive. Cap. I've
competition.
done that drive.
It's not that
Everyone
long of
will
a
be at the
drive.
Shattering.
It's not that long of a drive.
I can actually redeem my elo. Do you know how bad my elo is in sealed right now? I'm like 8 points above base. That's it. I'm
It's
like
not that long of a
1508.
drive compared to some other drives that people will be doing, but it's not like a 2 or 3 hour drive.
I don't know if I would actually do it at the end of the day, because I think the Shattering is just so exciting. And it's even if the logical brain in me goes, hey, you can help your rankings and you can probably make some money because most of your competition is going to be a couple states away, yada yada yada. I think just like the player in me and the love I have for this game, I don't know if I'd be able to tear myself away from the Shattering. So I don't think I actually will, but it's entered my brain. For those of you that don't know what Grace is talking about, the weekend of the Shattering is the exact same dates as SCG Con Richmond. Which I don't know why they decided to land on that. That seems kind of crazy, but it is what it is.
I think it's to get their ducks in a row. Is that they wanted it set up perfectly, and they realized they were just getting outside of the February time frame. And so if they waited one more week, then people would see it. Like you said in your video, Cap, where you're like, well, it's not February, but it's the first weekend after February. I think you go 2 weeks, and then the team feels like, I don't want to go back and look at the announcement, but they were like, it's like Gandalf saying, you shall now pass. Like we shall not pass February, I think was the announcement. Yeah. So I don't think like March 6th or 8th, we can excuse it. Grace, that was a great segue. But I do want to hear, by the way, your drive ability to Atlanta, and Cap has a 5.5 hour drive. And the other thing, which that's the problem when you get in these conversations. Sneaky Joe, we just heard about Cap saying his team they're going to make sure they go to every SCG con. Is your team still in existence? Do you plan to stay together for the coming year? Have you lost any of your team players? Have you gained any team players? Will somebody on your team be at every SCG con?
So you want him to spill state secrets?
Nothing that Cap hasn't done.
Those are really good questions, and not all of them have been explored. I took a little break after the Dragon Cup. We had Thanksgiving, and I haven't been meeting with my team as much. I know several of them meet and still play every night, and a lot of them are now got to be put on the test team for Call of Stones. So there's been a lot of that. We haven't really talked about how we're going to approach each competitive event. But it feels like the team is still together, and we might actually pick up some new members as well. And I guess we just got to figure out how we want to compete as a team going forward. And have that
Sneaky Joe, is that and Capricorn was mentioning about, you're looking down the line. You don't need to win this one because there's going to be plenty of other tournaments, plenty of other purses. Not to be crass, but I'm learning the world of TCGs more, and the people who are professionals who go on tour, and they just go from city to city, and they not only make a living, they make a better living than I do with the amount of money that they make. You strike me as the person you will never be that person who gives up. Like in the Wonders community and any community that Jeff French creates, you see people give up their ways of life and change based on what he's building. And I think this is a passion for you. You see it with you and your kids, but I don't see you ever giving up your life. Could you ever give up your existing life and commit to Wonders full time as a player or team owner?
That's a fair question. And I think about that sometimes, to be fair. At this point, no. I have 5 kids. Okay, so not just my 2 boys me run around with. I had a new baby in June, so so I've got a young baby at home too. So it's 3 girls and my 2 boys. And so at the end of the day, I'm a father first, a husband, a provider, and so this is a fun game. I would love that it could be what provides for my family at the end of the day, but it's just not there yet, right? So, and I'm not there yet either. I would have had to have proven by winning the Dragon Cup in order to get some bigger money, right? And I don't want to live a kind of life where now you're worried about if you have to win a tournament in order to put bread on my table at the end of the day. So for me, it's about being that provider in my home first. And right now, Wonders can't do that for me. So right now, it's just a great hobby that I have with my boys, that we're going to have lifetime memories that we're sharing. And on top of it, hey, we can bring in a chunk of cash here and there. So that's icing on the cake.
All right, and then I'm sure Grace wants me to bring it back. Sorry, Grace, I had to tie up those loose ends. So, Sneaky Joe, who will be going to the Shattering with you from your family?
You're talking. Sorry, I missed it. For me?
Yeah, sorry, Sneaky Joe. Yeah. Who will be traveling to the Shattering in your family?
it will be my 2 boys and I. Yeah.
Okay. And when will we see other members of the family? Because I haven't met. Right? We haven't seen other members of the family.
Yeah. No, you have not. So my daughter, who's 11, she plays the game with us too. She almost made an appearance at the Dragon Cup, but she had another competing activity and event. So if it's in Vegas, you might see other members of the family, but they don't travel like we do. They're not into it that much. So it's kind of a father and son kind of activity for now, but definitely anyone else in the family wants to be part of it, they're welcome to. It's not a limited club.
I think what needs to happen is your wife needs to get to one of these Shattering events so she could be surrounded by all these good people and finally get it. The light bulb can go off. So,
hey, that would be awesome. Tina from Skizzy's place came up to me the other day, and we were showing some family pictures and things, and she was very nice, and she was very kind and complimented my sons, my 2 boys, and their behavior and everything and how they interact in the community, which I really appreciate that compliment. I said, Tina, can you tell my wife? If I gave you your number, could you call her and let her know that the boys are representing themselves well? I think that might help. So yeah. Maybe I can use that to get her to come out so she can see how my boys interact in the community.
Cap, can you take that question from Porglet? What is the practical benefit of being on a team? And then Sneaky, obviously chime in there. And then Grace, you're not affiliated with the team right now, right? So hear from you after to hear, how you feel.
The one thing that is the most important aspect of being on a team, the reason why you need to be on a team, is because when you're gearing up for these really big tournaments, you need people to practice with, and you need people to practice with that you trust are at the top of the game. But also, you can't just go around practicing with everyone because you don't want to give away your best deck ideas and your best concepts. And if you're working on something you think is the next meta, that's like a step ahead of the current meta, like you can't just go practice it with everybody and let the cat out of the bag when you're competing, at that high of a level. So you need to have a few people that you can trust to play with. That you can feel less bad about them knowing all of your little secrets, and that's why, and I'm not saying we don't play test with the whole community, but there's, certain things that if we think we're on to something that's like the next step, that people aren't really gung-ho about yet, don't realize is as powerful yet, then, we kind of keep some of that stuff to ourselves. So there's a balancing act there for sure. And that's the most important part of what facilitates needing a team. Obviously, once the Dragon Cup was announced, now you need a team for a different reason. We had already intended to have a team ourselves first formed before the Dragon Cup and the serialized requirements and all of that came to light. So for us, that was just gravy. But the other important part of being on a team is we have it worked out so that since we are on a team and we are helping each other become better, we have a little bit of a share system where we share some of the profits. So we have a certain percentage of everything the team wins at an event will go into a team pot. And then anyone who played in that event that showed up for it gets one share of the team pot. Anyone that placed in the money for that tournament, doesn't matter how much money, just got high enough to earn any money at all, gets a second share of that team pot. And then whoever's the highest earner on the team gets a third share. And I'm not at liberty to say how much of what we win goes into the team pot, but splitting it up that way for the most part is a checks and balances. It means if one of us has bad luck, has a bad weekend, and we whiff out early, we're not going home empty-handed. We pretty much at least have roughly, our trip covered at least, and we didn't have to spend money to be there. And that makes it easier to be at more events as a team, knowing that we kind of have each other's backs in that way. So the tricky part is knowing what percentage to make that, what percentage to put into the team pot. But we like doing that. We don't know if every team does that. That's kind of our own thing that we came up with. But you definitely need a team to practice with and keep your secrets. And if you're practicing with them and keeping their secrets and helping them to do better, you might as well be spreading the wealth just a little bit and helping each other out in that way too. So that's kind of how we feel about it.
Yeah, I'll echo that a little bit. So what Capricorn said is right on about the team aspect, kind of keeping your competitive secrets within the team. You also have to be careful about that a little bit too, because you can create a vacuum for yourselves also. So it's still important to get out, get some games into the community, see what they come at you with. But at the same time, you still want to keep some of your best deck secrets aside. But with that, for me, Capricorn, he told me about First Forms in Orlando and how he was pulling that team together, and it sounded awesome. I never really heard of putting a competitive team together or anything. And so when I first heard of it, I said, oh, that sounds kind of cool. But, I'm going to think about, if I even want to be a part of a team or what that means or what that even is all about. Well, that didn't take me too long to think on it, because Frenchie came out and announced the Dragon Cup, right? So it was like a couple weeks later, all of a sudden, here we have the Dragon Cup, where you need 25 OCMs, you need a stone foil in order to compete for the big money prize. So, I'm a player first. Yes, I do have a decent sized collection, but as a competitive player, the collection I have isn't going to be good enough to compete at the highest level, right? So I can try to go solo. I could try to break my own bank account to try to put the cards and the deck together that I need, with no guarantees that I'll come home with the trophy, right? Or you can pull resources as a team. There's a lot of other players that are like me. They have a nice pool of resources, and maybe they're a little heavy in this area and I'm a little heavy in that area. And if we group enough of us together, we can now build enough competitive decks around what our total resource pool is. And that's the way that we had approached the Dragon Cup. We came together, one, because we were a group of competitive players, some of the top players. We had 3 of our team members place in the top 8 in the Dragon Cup. We had 3 of our team members, or 2 of our team members place in the top 8 in the Stone Seekers Cup, and one took second place. So we are a bunch of competitive players, but we don't necessarily have the big collector backing us. We started to get a few more people that helped, that donated. There's members of the community. Maybe they're listening here. I had a few people send me OCMs with asking nothing in return, just saying, hey, do you need some help? What OCMs can I send your way? And they sent them to us. And so it was really cool to see that people from the community, even though they weren't asking for anything, were willing to loan their cards out just to help us build competitive decks so we could compete in that. And so we might have had a direct team where we talked about the prize splitting and all that other stuff, but there was a lot of community members that wanted to support us as a team, kind of looking in on the outside, which we really appreciated as well. So the team at the end of the day for me and for us was, if you weren't a big time collector, you needed to pull resources together, and having a team was the best way to do that.
Grace, we saw that, by the way, Porglet appreciates the comments, gentlemen. It clarified it for him. But Grace, speaking as somebody who's not a member, as you've got Garrett saying, I want to experience the camaraderie that comes with the team, sharing ideas and going back and forth on picks, kind of like Ramel does in Discord each day right now. So Grace, you're not on a team. Of course, you're preoccupied with finishing college. So you don't necessarily have the time to commit that others do. But looking forward, are you more enticed by the team concept, by what you're hearing, or you're just, this is your lane and you like being solo?
I have always thought that if I was gonna start playing more consistently, that I'd want to be on a team. Right now, I don't play enough, and enough people haven't seen me play for me to be for me to go, I want to be on a team, and for people to be like, yeah, we want you on a team. So I need to play more before that's an option for me. But Garrett kind of hit it right on the head of, to me, one of the big things of being part of a team would be, my favorite thing about going to events is going and spending time with people. And I love the play and I love competing, but it's about doing that and being able to share that experience with people. And there's something about being on a team that just makes that better. When I go to events, it's usually with my family or my friends, and just being able to go to, my dad or my mom or one of my best friends and go, man, that game sucked. And then you just rant about it for a minute, and then you go on, you have fun, and you play them more. It feels harder to do that when you don't have a team or people that there.
Absolutely.
Well, first formed needs some estrogen representation, so put that in the back of your mind.
It's tucked away and noted, Cap.
A shout out to Yo-Yo, who's in the audience, of course, part of Sneaky Joe's team. All right, so let's close the book on the Shattering. And then
Yo-Yo was the backbone to our team. I need to add that since you brought him up. So Yo-Yo was definitely the backbone to our team. He did the most pulling resources together for the team. So shout out to Yo-Yo.
Insane. I do want to say, I think the most underestimated player in the entire community right now is Broten. I think that dude is like terrifying. he's meticulous, and he thinks way further ahead than I realized he did. And my game with him had me feeling very similar to my game in the finals against Honest AF. Both those players think so far ahead, and so I want to shout out Broten.
All right, well,
Broten's an excellent player, so I'll shout him out as well. We were happy to have him come aboard to our team. Great player.
Right. Well, and a shout out to Jordan and also Dilly Beast, who are joining. Glad to have you guys here. All right, so when it comes to the Shattering, to close it on there, it is going. Anything that we want to cover about it, the dates are set. It's March 6th through 8th. They don't have a hotel block set aside, but it's the Marriott downtown. If you go over to Wonder's Workshop, she has a great, her video she just dropped. It talks about, she's a local. She can tell you why the address seems a little weird. She can tell you about restaurants. She gives you advice. So you definitely want to, in the description, you can find the link to get over to Wonder's Workshop. And I think there's no reason to tar and feather the Wonders team for March 6th through 8th, right? We now have a final date. It's technically not February, but I think for those of us, not Vegas, Sneaky Joe, but and not Grace, who's local, it doesn't matter. They could do it tomorrow. They could do it in 6 months, and she wouldn't care because she's available. But for Cap and I from New England, I would rather go in a week later in March when it's going to be even nicer, and it's still going to be snowing up in New England, Cap. So does anybody have a problem with the team it happening in March? No. Okay. Anything else to add then about the Shattering other than you have to go?
Missing Richmond is just a bummer. I don't want to miss anything. I want to do everything. So that's kind of bummer. I also want to make a prediction. I think the Shattering is going to be a lot bigger this year. And part of the reason for that is the first one with Existence, everything was done through the Kickstarter. So anything you could get your hands on to be a part of during the Shattering, to rip, to get your product, it all closed so long before the Shattering happened, you know. But now you have a set coming out, you know, normally. You have a set coming out where people are going to be able to pre-buy stuff. People are going to be able to buy stuff theoretically, I would assume, right up until the event happens. And you could have this big swell of people getting excited, more and more excited in the weeks leading up to it, buying product and showing up. I mean, I don't know for sure how they're exactly going to run all that, but it's exciting to think about, and that's kind of my prediction is there could be a groundswell of excitement and a bigger turnout.
I think I was going to say, I think there is one other thing to note from the announcement. It was at the very end of the announcement, if I'm remembering correctly, about something we should not expect but be pleasantly surprised if it happens. I think Frenchie was saying that we shouldn't expect Tom Felton to be there, but be pleasantly surprised if they can swing it to happen. And I think that is an important note to the event.
Well, here's what's interesting. He specifically said Tom, but there's other celebrities that have cards in this game. If we don't get a Tom because he's on Broadway, do we get a surprise appearance by someone else who's on a card? Maybe even a card they haven't even unveiled yet.
True.
Right. I know it's not going to be Ben Affleck. He would cost too much money. Yes, he would not be there. But if Tom Felton could make it, it would make it. It's already going to be big. I mean, we saw Atlas, who designed the wonderscodex.com site, we had a discussion with him where he talked about the fact that he's exactly what Frenchie was hoping for. He's a Harry Potter fan. He saw a couple of the ads. I love it. He played Magic when he was like 12 years old because his brothers made him. He never loved it, but they forced him, and so he was susceptible to the game. And the Harry Potter connection was too much for him to resist. So to your point, Cap, if people like that are willing to design the wonderscodex.com, are they not? And he's in North Carolina, so are they not going to drive to Columbia? So how many of those people are we going to see? So hopefully we see that.
To think about.
All right, so we go away from there. Now the next thing that we have to talk about is that DBS is dead. And so Sneaky Joe, you're our guest here, and I know we have, was it Jester who said, he said DBS Score isn't dead. It's just changing name. Clickbait. It's like, so what I'll get the announcement.
No. DBS Score
is dead.
DBS is not dead. DBS is new. DBS Score is old, and that is dead. Because the S in DBS now stands for score. So it's you can no longer say DBS
Score.
ATM
machine.
It's just DBS.
All right. So, Sneaky Joe, I know you were in there getting involved in the conversation. So what's your take on Ramel's announcement? And was it necessary? And how do you break it down?
So when he first announced it and I was like, what is he even talking about? I'm just going to be honest. I'm like, what is actually changing? And then I realized, oh, I've been calling it the wrong way, but now the right way the whole time. So I've always called it deck balancing score from the beginning. Apparently that was not what it was called. So really it's just a change on terms. So I guess originally, I think it's in there. They call it balancing system.
Dynamic balancing.
Dynamic.
Score.
Yeah, and you know what? And honestly, I think Romel told me that once, but it just went to the back of my mind, and I kept calling it deck balancing score. And I think most people in the community call it deck balancing score. And I think this was just a write-up to say, all right, it's official. We're calling it deck balancing score. That's how I read this article. So it kind of moved with the language, I guess, the community was already using, and they were just trying to align it.
Great.
So if you're going to read any comprehensive rules or anything when it talks about the DBS, it's going to fit the lingo that we're using.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a smart move because prior to this, I could have told you 4 different things that DBS could have meant. Deck balancing system, deck balancing score, dynamic balancing system, dynamic balancing score. And there's a bunch. I don't want to spoil too. This is what my video tomorrow is about, so I don't want to spoil too much. But
Give us.
linguistically and for the growth of the community, it makes sense to say and pick something that is simple and easy to remember and clear for new players.
But Capricorn is that we've seen questions in the community that go unanswered. They don't post a designer's letter to the Wonders community. So, I mean, was this important enough that it needed to be a letter to the community?
This is a preemptive move. Like, they have, my guess is they have some very serious changes coming to the DBS scores for some of the cards. And that's going to roll right into the new set coming out and possibly another change. All of a sudden, once COTS comes out, we're going to have twice as many cards, and it's going to get that much more complicated to build decks and to balance DBS scores and all of that. So I think very, very quickly, we're going to start to see DBS being way, way more important and discussed way more often. And so I think it's really important to roll this out and just to set a precedent so that they can start talking about things moving forward and just make sure that it's clear as day. This is what it is, and everyone's on the same page.
And that's a great segue to talking about DBS realignment and where everybody on the panel thinks it's going. But first, Grace has a point to say, and I will say Grant in the audience had a question about teams. We'll get back to it, but we'll go with Grace, and then we'll segue into the third topic we're covering tonight and final.
The one question that this post leaves me with, and maybe this is me like missing it, if DBS only applies to the deck as a whole, if it is the value of your deck as a whole, what do I call the points on the card? Is it the DBS value of the card? That's the one piece that's ambiguous to me, because if it very clearly states that DBS simply means deck balancing score, and it refers to the total value of your deck. It's good that that's up there and I can read it word for word.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my one question. Do cards not have, like, I don't know what the terminology there is anymore, and maybe that's me just being pedantic. That's the one question that it left me with.
Well, I just
yeah, go ahead.
You go ahead first, Sneaky.
I was going to say, to me, it's the same. That little number for your card is the deck balancing score. It's the portion that it contributes to the overall total. So I feel like you can call it the same thing.
A card has a DBS value, and then also a deck has a total DBS value. And the card DBS values contribute to the deck DBS values. So
yeah, it's just I agree, and that's what I was inclined to think. It's just that the way this was worded in that specific sentence, I was like, No,
this is what I like, Grace, because this is what, for folks who are tuning in, this is Creators of the First. And our normal panel is Grace from Wonders Workshop, Capricorn from Quarantine Capricorn. And then usually we have American Texan Plays and Be a Hero Gaming as well. They weren't able to join us, but we have Sneaky Joe, one of the legends in the Wonders community, joining us on the panel tonight. And if you want to see people, what I'm waiting for on one of these guys is that Capricorn and Grace love to break down anything that comes out of the Wonders team, sentence by sentence, frame by frame. So that's the video I'm waiting for them on. And so I'm sure they're going to give that to us. But you saw a little bit of that taste right here. But that's a good segue because, Cap, I know you've been chomping at the bit. And again, we'll get back to Grant's question about teams at the end to wrap it up. But you've been chomping at the bit to talk about how you think the DBS rebalancing, what it's going to look like. So let's hear your thoughts to open it up. And when is it going to happen?
I'm kind of bummed because I wanted a round table with Ben and Texan, and I wanted to get all of the content creators' thoughts on DBS. That being said, I've still got Grace and I've got Sneaky Joe here, so I mean, I should be grateful. The thing you guys got to realize about DBS is a lot of times it's not as easy as like powerful cards should go up. It's how the cards interact. And so an example I want to give is you have something like Pastel Bloom Drake, where it's really, really powerful. It's kind of expensive, but if you happen to be able to banish it, for some cheap, efficient way. You just get it for free. And that's crazy, but it's only crazy if you're able to find a way to cheaply and efficiently banish it. Otherwise, it's a fair card. You have to spend 7 energy, right? You have to play it like a normal wonder, and then sure, it's a powerful flyer that has protection from banishment, basically. But like, you took the energy cost to do that, and it's worth it. It's the ways in which you can cheat it out that make it powerful. So, for example, Old Man Rocket Ricker, right? What's the DBS on him? Isn't he like 11 or something like that? He's pretty low. He can search a deck for up to 2 cards of a card name that you name and banish them. So if you name Drake, Old Man Rocket Ricker is broken. But does that mean that Old Man Rocket Ricker should get a huge DBS update? Should he go way through the roof because you could break him with Drake and use him to get Drakes out for free and do crazy things? The problem is, if you crank the DBS up on a card like Old Man Rocket Ricker, you're penalizing the people that want to play that card the fair way. People that want to put that card in their deck so that they can just use it to get rid of their opponent's cosmic cataclysms or something like that, the way it's intended to be used, where there's something super problematic like Luminous Scarab in your opponent's deck, and you could just name it, you can get rid of it, and be done with it. That's a fair way to use Old Man Rocket Ricker. That's how he's intended to be used. So you can't just crank up the DBS on a card because it has a crazy interaction, and that's what makes it tricky. So finding the ways to nerf certain combinations, certain interactions, without nerfing some of the interesting ways that those cards can be used, and wanting people to still have access to using them in more fair, interesting ways, is really, really tricky. And I do not
Envy.
I do not envy the team for having to figure that out. So I'm kind of curious to hear from Sneaky Joe. Like, you've got Pastel Bloom Drake, you've got Old Man Rocket Ricker, you've got Noctarum, you've got Cast Out, and you've got Nexus. And all of those kind of interact with each other in interesting different ways. What do you think, in your opinion, out of all of those cards, is the card that you increase DBS on in order to make it more difficult to pull off some of those really powerful synergies without making it more difficult to use some of those cards in the fair ways they're intended?
That's a good question. My first concern is, part of being a deck builder and a competitor, you're looking for these little tiny combos that most people have overlooked. And the one Capricorn brought up, that one was hidden for a long time, and then it was discovered, and then it became very competitive, right? So the Drake wasn't being played at all until people could find a free way to play it. And so the Drake has like a 3 DBS right now, but now you're playing it for free. You can easily get it out in round 2, maybe 2 of them on round 2. It happens. But my concern is, just because that happens, let's not have an overreaction. So what I mean by an overreaction is, you take this group of cards that Capricorn just mentioned, and if you say, well, it's all a problem, and we increase the DBS on all of them, to me, that is going to mess the game up. It's not going to make it better. I think you still want to encourage people to find different combos and little interactions. And as you see, if one combo is starting to take over the game, then yes, let's take a look at overall what the bigger problem is. My opinion in this particular interaction, there's actually, you mentioned several cards, and I think they're not just a problem with the Drakes, but they can kind of be a problem overall in different scenarios of the game too. Old Man Rocket, I don't think is really a problem at all. I don't think he should be touched. I would leave him alone. Okay. Drakes should not be 3 DBS, because now we know how to get them out for free. So I think you definitely need to bump those up, just to make sure that your deck is balanced, where knowing that they can pull this combo off, right? So now they're going to have less utility when they add other cards in their deck. Okay. Cast Out, I think, is a really powerful card. I think a lot of people don't understand its value. It is a draw card. And I think one of the bigger issues in the game right now is draw power in general. Okay. So I would take Cast Out, not just say, oh, Cast Out's a part of the Drake problem. No, I think Cast Out is part of the overall draw problem of the game, where I would include Thought Tempest, Seer's Gaze, Moonfire, Crystal Mouse. Because what you're finding out is, and something I'd like to add is, this game is a resource management game. You win by outplaying your opponent in resources. That's what makes the Drake so awesome, right? So the best resource you have in the game are the cards in your hand. I know people like to say actions, they like to say energy, but at the end of the day, the cards in your hand is what manipulates energy, actions, etc. And so if you have superior card draw, generally, you will outpace your opponent because you will now have the cards in your hand to manipulate the other two resources. So for me, I think in the Wonders team caught wind of this with Seer's Gaze. Seer's Gaze was very cheap. It was ran so much during the very first Shattering, it became the first card draw card that got bumped in its DBS. Well, they bumped that one in the DBS, and now people just look to the others. Oh, let me figure out how I can run Moonfire Crystal Mouse. Oh, now I can tie it to a staff, an Eldritch Staff. And not only do I sacrifice it once, I bring it back every round now, right? So now I'm getting superior draw power and energy power against my opponent. You look at Cast Out. Cast Out is also in that category. It's a 3 DBS card. You can use it against your opponent. You can also use it for yourself to get that draw and get through your deck. So I would look at the Wonders team and say, I think you really got to look at the draw power in this game. And I think you need to DBS all draw cards up a little bit higher. That way people can't just keep searching their deck, filling their hands, looking for the answers. I think really that is what creates more of the bad feel for a lot of other players who always feel like someone else sitting across from them always has the answer for everything. And I've heard people complain about that sometimes, that they always have the answer for everything, right? Well, that's only because they're outdrawing you and they're finding the answers that they need, right? So if you want to avoid a game where everyone just keeps drawing through and finding combos, I think you need to increase the DBS on all the draw cards. Okay. So that's one recommendation that I would have on DBS is make it harder to make them draw. That means the synergies that they're looking for are going to be less effective, right? Draw power is still good, but you need to balance that better with the synergies that they're looking for in their deck and not make it so easy.
And also something that I think tends to get overlooked by a lot of players is that cards like Cast Out and Thought Tempest, it isn't just about the draw potential, but it's more so about card selection. You know, it's about getting however many cards deeper to the stuff that you need, right? If you need a Foulwind land, and that Foulwind land is 5 cards down, but you don't know where it is. If you play a Cast Out and you desperately need the Foulwind land and you don't see a Foulwind land in the 2, you just banish the top 2, draw the next card. Now you've gotten 3 cards closer, which could be 3 rounds closer, depending on how you use your actions, to finally getting that card that you need. And that kind of goes back to mulliganing too. I think that way when I mulligan. If there's something you desperately need that's not in your opening hand, you got to throw away 3. Not because there's something that you wish was a better card in your hand, but you need to be 3 cards closer. You need to be 3 rounds closer to finally finding that card that you need, even if it isn't in one of the 3 that you get back when you mulligan. So digging deeper into your deck is hugely, hugely important, even outside of just actually drawing cards and getting card advantage. Because Thought Tempest doesn't actually give you all that much card advantage. You spend a card, the Thought Tempest. You have to put a card back on top, so you don't get to keep that one, and you end up drawing 3. So really, you only get an increase of 1 card in your hand over what you had prior. But the key is you get that card selection. You get to dig 3 cards deeper. You get to be 3 cards closer to that thing you're searching for. And that's super important. And Cast Out works the same way. Another thing is pay careful attention to cards that generate actions as well, because again, actions can be used to draw. So if you have something like Kalith, and even just the base level of Kalith, she untaps a land that you can use to get 1 action, and she gives you an action herself. You could use both those actions to draw cards. So in a way, Kalith can feel in certain games like she's a 4-power wonder that draws you 2 cards for your 1 action, which can be powerful.
And to echo that, attuned as well, attuned cards. Because if you have an attuned card, that's an action you didn't spend drawing. Now I can play a card for free, spend that action to draw, right? So
Exactly.
So again, that's kind of what leads to, I think, getting the answers and having a powerful deck. And then you have to build a deck that synergizes, so you know what you're looking for, you know what you're trying to build up and put down on the board, and you also know what your opponent's playing and how to counteract that through some of that draw power. That being said, there are some kind of feel bad cards. Oh, did you have a question? Sorry.
No, sorry, Sneaky Joe. It's just I think Grace has been, and she wanted to chime in.
Gotcha. Sorry, Grace.
You're all good. I have come from a family where we don't typically interrupt people, so I get told I'm too patient sometimes. But Porglet actually just hit on the exact thing that I was going to point out with Thought Tempest. It's that Thought Tempest and some of these other cards also let you control what's on top of your deck. And the first thing that I think of is Seek. But there's a lot of other stuff where it matters what's on top of your deck, and that can have a big impact as well in certain games. I'm a little biased. I play against a tall wind only deck most frequently, and I see this card set up my demise more frequently than I would like to admit. But it being in control of what's on top of your deck can be really important if somebody's playing the right deck.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's why I named that card, because maybe it doesn't have as good of a draw engine as some of the others, but it also has a side benefit, a setup benefit that synergizes with other cards. Kind of like the Cast Out. It has a side benefit. Ooh, if I found my Drake, I could play it for free using the Cast Out, right? So, oh, wait, my opponent, he just set up a Thought Tempest. I'll cast out his deck and get rid of what he put up there, right? So those are not only draw cards, they have other utility that goes with them, making them powerful draw cards.
I think that's where a lot of the cards that I tend to think of that automatically I've heard us talk about that need DBS increases they all have some sort of secondary benefit. Either they do something good and they're attuned, or they draw you cards and they set up something else, or there's just a lot of cards like Moonfire Crystal Mouse. You get 2 things out of it, and you get the sacrifice out of it for some things. Like, I think a lot of the cards that we're thinking about as needing DBS bumps, they do more than just the thing they seem to do on first look.
Definitely, and that's part of what goes into deck building. I mean, that's why people look at some of the vanilla wonders, and they're powerful. 3 energy, get a 7 power wonder out on the board. That sounds great, right? Well, it's great until someone who's been slowly playing with these other cards, lower cost, that eventually synergize with several other cards in their deck. They get way past the 7 power mark really fast for when they only put in maybe 1 cost or 2 cost. So there's definitely scaling value when you're playing the game, and the game is played in 3 phases. You got the beginning, the middle, and the end game. And so when Capricorn's talking about how important the mulligan is, you might have some of your best win con cards that are in your hand at that moment. But if you don't have a land to start the game or a way to get some kind of control at the beginning of the game, you're going to mulligan 3 of those cards. Maybe you're going to say, you know what, I can't keep my win con. Hopefully I draw into my second win con throughout the game, but I have to get a good start in this game. And so again, that just goes to where having draw power can really, increase your chances in the game and get you the combos that do these crazy things that some people say make the game unfun, right? And that kind of leads into one of the cards that I definitely think needs to go up. I actually asked for it to go up at the Shattering, and it did. I think it was 25 at the time at the Shattering. They bumped it to 50 at the time. I think it needs to go up even higher. And I would point to the Lumina Scarab as one of the ones that needs to go up to 75, at least. Some people might think higher. I don't think higher. I think the biggest problem with that card is with the right combination, you can get the Luminous Scarab out on round 1. I've done it many, many times, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can do it with a Quill. You can get it out on round 2 easy with a Sister Azura. And when the game is just barely starting, someone sits that across from you and you have no answers in your hand. Maybe you have a removal card like a Blasting Duel or a Rend or something. Well, if they start taking your lands out right away with that card, and most of your cards you have in your hand are core, that puts you in a pickle where a lot of your cards are unplayable. And because they're ahead of you, they're going to stay ahead of you. So you have to find other answers. And so for a lot of players, that's kind of a feel bad interaction. I don't think the card should be gotten rid of by any means. There are ways around it. I have built decks to deal with first round scarabs and things like that come out. And for those watching, I think attunement is your answer, because the scarab will get outpaced by attuned cards eventually, right? However, I think for most players, though, if you just want to play your game and your cards, the fact that this combo is so easy to set up because you can have 3 scarabs in your deck. And I think that is something that the DBS score needs to look at. Like, how many times, or what are the odds of being able to repeat this miserable combo that someone has to play against? That has to factor into the score. And so that's why I'd advocate for Scarab to go up so high. So at some point, maybe I'm only putting 1 in my deck. So the frequency of pulling out that round 1, round 2 Scarab goes way down, which I think is a better experience for everyone as a whole.
All right.
Yeah,
So Cap, just to let you know, is we're getting towards the end here. And so I don't want to stop the conversation. I look forward to when Texan and Be a Hero are back to have a more extensive. So I'm going to give you the final word on this, and then we're going to get back to Grant's comment. But go ahead and with your final words on the DBS rebalance, and not to mention the timing. When is the timing going to be, you think?
I think there will probably be a DBS update around Christmas, and then there will be another one when Call of the Stones comes out. That's my guess. I think they specifically want to pull deck building in a certain direction in the lead up to COTS. I think they want to answer some of those problems and have the meta kind of settle into something different in the lead up. And then as soon as the new set hits, it just turns everything on its head. That's kind of what I'm anticipating, but hard to say for sure. What do you think, Joe?
I agree with you. I definitely think they want to get a DBS update before SCG Con starts in the new year, and I think they want to refresh the meta a little bit. So I think definitely they're going to get the DBS update before the year is out. I would hope sooner rather than later, so people can plan, prepare, and build their decks accordingly. After that, definitely going to have to consider another DBS date as Call of the Stones comes out, because that's definitely going to shake up the meta. Looks like a awesome set coming up. A lot of exciting things, and it's definitely going to change the way we play the game. So
I'm jealous that you've already gotten to play with the cards.
Grace, how much you have the play teams that are playing it right now, but once it gets out there, I mean, they can only test so much. So, Cap's talking about one at Christmas, then one Call of Stones. So we would expect to see issues, right? When they rebalance the DBS that the playtest teams aren't catching, right? Okay.
Yeah,
No?
I think so.
Well, and there's also the matter of, and don't take this as me dissing anyone on the play team. The playtest team is a limited number of people. The more people that see the set, the more combinations are going to be figured out. This is not a diss on you, Sneaky Joe. I don't think you can find every single combo in all of Call of the Stones. So there will be more things and more problems as more and more people see the cards. That's just like statistics.
I mean, that's the reason why Rob, when he was working on the deck builder, he always ran a simulation of 100,000. So I'm the playtest team just can't do 100,000. That's the only reason why. Yes, thanks for pointing that out. I think it goes without saying, Grace. We're grateful to everybody who's on the playtest team. I'm just thinking there are going to be, there will be people like Cap are going to figure things out that
there's always going to be something that's a little bit too powerful. But that's the beauty of it. That's kind of the fun, They shake things up. They change the DBS, whether it's changing the DBS or launching a new set or whatever. You get to dig in, and even before you're playing the games, it's kind of a puzzle to try and figure out like what did they miss, like what is the new like crazy thing that's getting overlooked because they were focused on fixing all of these problems, and like it's fun to figure that stuff out. And then you take it to a big tournament and you make it obvious by doing well with it at a big tournament. And then those things get changed in a future update. And there's this cool like ebb and flow. It's like a tide coming in and going out. And I really love that about card games in general. And so I'm excited at how much the DBS can create those kind of scenarios. I think probably better than the way other card games do it. If they want to pull the meta in a certain direction, they can, and that's exciting. If they think something, even if you're not looking at it from a perspective of like, oh, what's broken and needs to be fixed, but you could also look at it from a perspective of, oh, what are all these cool ideas, these cool things that you could do with the card pool that people aren't doing yet. They're not doing it. We need to push that button. We need people to explore this because this should get some attention. They can modify the DBS scores to do that, and that's exciting to me.
That's right. All right, Grace, you're gonna have the final word on that, and then we're gonna go to Grant's question, and then we're gonna go because 11:30 Eastern is our hard stop for our live show. Go ahead, Grace.
And the last point that I'll add is I do not see a world where they DBS everything super high that could combo, because that takes away the fun of figuring it out. I think part of the reason that the DBS on things started as low as it does sometimes is so that we can figure out the combos without going, this is what the DBS says. This card is really high for what appears to be no freaking reason. Let's figure out why. I'm sure there's some cards that'll do that, but they're not going to do that with every card. But that's my last 2 cents.
All right. Well, and I apologize for bringing up the comment that was non-germane to your comments, but I also wanted to stop these two gentlemen from adding on an additional comment to what you said, because this conversation will never end. So Grant said, follow-up question, balance between building a monolith team and a diverse pool of equally competitive teams. Where should that be? Because of course earlier we were talking about Capricorn and Sneaky Joe, both part of teams, and we talked Grace is not part of a team. So we were talking about that balance. But any thoughts from Grace? We'll start with you. You're just seeing it now because you were giving comments. Do you have any thoughts about what Grant was saying? Because he's not saying it, but right, a couple teams could dominate. It doesn't become fun to be on the competitive circuit, and then people stop going to these, and Wonders doesn't have that enthusiasm at the events that it needs to have escape velocity, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, I think he's got a really good point. And right now, I don't think that this is as big a deal, but in a couple of years, this could be a really big deal if Cap's team and Sneaky Joe's teams are the only ones that ever win because they've got all the best players. Then everybody knows how that's going to go. It's going to go to one of those two teams. And I think part of that is that there will be I think part of the balance that will come from that is there there will be some competitiveness of new players. And if somebody's really good on a team, but they're never getting the chance to play as hard or be the superstar in the competitive nature of human beings, there might be some movement and some shifting, and I think things will balance themselves as they go, just because of the kind of community that we're a part of, but I'm not 100% sure.
Cap?
Well, let me ask you this. Who won first place in the Dragon Cup? What team was he on? Who won first place in the Stoneseeker Cup? What team was he on? Neither of those players were on my team or Sneaky Joe's team. I don't think you have to really worry about a Monolith team at all. I think this game has a lot of really good players. I think there are some that get more of a shine in the community's eyes right now, but that's only because of the limited events we've had. I think there are a ton of other players that aren't on a team right now that are just as good as the players that are. And over the next handful of events, we're going to get an opportunity to see that. Another thing you need to keep in mind is a team can only grow so big before it's too big and implodes on itself. Like, how thin do you spread everything?
Yeah.
You know,
we can't even go there because there's so many questions to ask the two of you, right? The size of the team, because I certainly heard it from the people in Vegas. We're cannibalizing on each other. Like, do you keep the team small so that doesn't happen? Do you keep it big?
I will say our goal right now, and this kind of answers a question from Gertius earlier, is we see our team capping out at 8 players, and that's enough to potentially take the full top 8 on, a really lucky day. We're looking to maybe increase our team size by 1 or 2 players before COTS, and then maybe another couple players after COTS. So if anyone's interested, hit me up. We'll hold tryouts or something. I don't know. But I don't think you're going to see teams get much bigger than where, the Mythic Knights are right now. Maybe a few. I could see the Mythic Knights getting up to a dozen players. There's no way I can see a team going over much more than that. And you're going to see more and more players coming into the game over the next year, over the next 2 years, like insanely good new players like Honest AF, like Ken, who won Stoneseeker, like that are not going to be on these teams. Maybe they start their own teams. I don't think you have to worry about a Monolith team. I think there's going to be a lot of competition.
I think that you're being too dismissive, though, because the people who won the cups were unaffiliated. I think that the teams, talking about you, the fact that you didn't have all the cards in the deck and you were scrambling the last hours to actually you couldn't recreate exactly the deck you were hoping to play with. You were just hoping to have a playable deck that was very good. The fact that, I know about your Airbnb and the music all night next door, the chicken in the morning. You're like literally, and by the way, I've heard rumors, Sneaky Joe, he sent that band over. He sent that rooster over, just FYI. I'm kidding.
No, honestly, Sneaky loaned us cards. Sneaky loaned us cards. So
it wasn't just me. There was a lot of members from the Mythic Knights that loaned them cards.
Ramel helped us. We all, and that's what I mean. This community is amazing. Even though we were kind of cutthroat in some ways, like we had each other's backs and others, and then at the end of the day, that's what mattered.
But I see in you guys is you're highly competitive. You're very community oriented. And again, Cap, you said you want to beat Sneaky Joe and you want to beat him at his best.
He's my white whale.
And you've talked about that, but the reality is you guys are highly competitive. And so this was, you guys were just testing the waters. Like, you saw what it was like. I expect next year, it is going to be vicious coming from you guys. What is going to happen next year? There will be other people, but your two teams are going to be on a whole different level next year after you're touring around at the SCG cons and everything that you learn. All right, Sneaky Joe, I'm going to go to you to talk about Grant's comment about the teams and the competitiveness, and then any final thoughts from you, because Grace is a college student and we're keeping this poor person up, and I made a promise to her last week, 11:30. We've got 4 minutes. Go, Sneaky Joe.
Well, that's a lot to tackle in 4 minutes, so I'll try to keep it short, and so Grace can go to bed. the whole team concept, like I said, it was kind of new to me. It made sense for the Dragon Cup, right? It made sense because we needed to pull resources together in order to actually build decks to compete. It made sense to have a group that you can test and play against, and run deck concepts through that you don't want other competitors to know about and find out about, right? As far as it overtaking, I think that can be a real problem. I see what Kelveron's saying there. I think that is something that the community should be concerned with. To be honest, the team we put together was actually, at least the way we thought of the team we put together, was we were the players team trying to compete against the big ugly corporations. That's kind of what we thought of it as, right? But now that you see 8 of us with a lot of competitive players, maybe we look like a bad guy too at the same time, right? Because we built a giant team. And so I don't know. I think it's really the intent of the team. Are these teams going to show up in every event? I don't know. Again, we have to have that conversation with our team, with Mythic Knights. Originally, we came together for the Dragon Cup. I think we all like each other and want to keep competing and playing together. So I believe that we'll continue on as the Mythic Knights. Does that mean that we share in the spoils of events that we don't attend? Of course not, or things like that. So there's a lot of things that got to be worked out within a team. I acknowledge that it could be a problem if you have too many large teams that are taking over everything. And I don't want to see the game go that way. And I think you can build teams to help prevent that, right? If you get a number of teams, the whole thing that I looked at is the Dragon Cup looked to me like they wanted to set up kind of an EA Sports kind of league where you actually have a bunch of separate big sponsored teams, not one team, not two teams, but maybe 8 to 12 teams or something like that. And maybe that's a problem. I don't think it is a problem. To me, that's kind of like how the NFL works, things like that. So, but there's still room for individuals to come in as well. So I'm excited to see kind of how things work out, how the structure works out. I hope that there isn't just one dominant team. I hope there's a lot of different teams that people can have access to, and the opportunity to create their own team as well.
Slappy, you're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. Sneaky Joe, it's been so great having you here. And I hope actually you'll come back and join us more. For everyone, we haven't said in a while, this Creators of the First, we have the people who create the content, so you can learn more about Wonders of the First, the gameplay, what's happening in the community. And of course, we've got Grace from Wonders Workshop, Quarantine Capricorn, normally American Texan plays at Be a Hero Gaming. No, Cap, I'm going to give you a goodbye. I just wanted to shout it out there. But it's like, Grace, final words from you.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Got a video dropping tomorrow about the DBS update, and on Friday I will be posting a video with the list of all the bombs in existence.
Cap.
Really quick, I just want to mention that we were the people's team because we were the underdogs. We had only 4 people. You had 8, 9, whatever it was. And we personally took all of the Mythic Knights out of the top 8. Roaming Boss beat you, and I beat both Jordan and Broden. So anyway, speaking of beating Broden, that video is going up tomorrow, my semifinals match in the Dragon Cup. So look forward to that. I then also have the finals match between me and Honest AF that I'm working on. That one's going to take a little bit longer. But once those videos are up, the juicy stuff, that's when the juicy stuff comes up, because we're gonna take a look at the top 8 decks for both tournaments. We're going to break them all down. We're going to dig into the meta. We're going to do a whole bunch of analysis just in time for it to not matter, because there's a new DBS change and then a new set. So look forward to all that stuff coming soon. You can find me at youtube.com/@quarantinedcapricorn.
And of course, everybody's YouTube link is in the description, so make sure you check it out there. I've been your moderator, Slappy White. I want to thank Quarantine Capricorn, Grace from Wonders Workshop, and of course, Sneaky Joe, one of the top Wonder players in the country. And thank you very much,
Dope.
everybody who joined us in the audience, all the great comments and questions. I can't wait to cover these topics more. See you next week. We're live every single week, Tuesday, 10 p.m. Eastern.
From the clash of wonder, stories burst. Voices rise, creators of the first. Capricorn charts the stars with might, guiding seekers through the night. Be a hero, then breaks it down. Gaming wisdom all around. Every card, each pack reversed. He's a guide, creator of the first. Creators of the first. Wonders, wisdom, quenched our thirst. Together we shine, community blessed. With the creators of the first. With the creators of the first. Wonders Workshop, Carolina Girl brings light. Sharing secrets, shining light. Sharing secrets, shining bright. Knowledge deep, her voice rehearsed. A championed creator of the first. American Texan plays it true. Passion for the game shines through. From the heart, his insights burst. A leader, creator of the first. Creators of the first. Wonders, wisdom, quenched our thirst. Together we shine, community blessed. With the creators of the first. With the creators of the first. When the packs unfold and the stories call, these voices rise to guide us all. Wonders keepers, friendships nurse. We stand with creators of the first. Creators of the first.